act here.
Yep.
Before you give the power up back to Steve Robinson, are you and Steve gonna have like a communication
Passing of the torch?
Yeah, like on Saturday or something.
I'll probably text him a couple of the interns. That's about it. Right?
That's it.
Yeah.
Let me know how did it go. I mean, he has been so AWOL.
It has been an honor sitting in your chair, sir.
I would never.
The pleasure has been all mine.
And I'd say I did a pretty
Every
good
time a car passes by, I will think of the Kirk Minihane Show.
Steve, I want you to know that I feel I never let the show fade below your standard.
Every time things take time, I will think of the Kirk
think of
Minihane
me.
Show. They'll think of me and they'll, hopefully, Steve, they'll smile. Just once. And every time they talk about trade and saving $14 and turning it around and flipping it out and making an ad rib split, they'll think of me and they'll smile.
Hey, Steve, treat him right.
No, Steve, no. I don't want any compliments. No. I was just doing my job, Steve. I was just doing my job.
I'm just a man who is paid to do a job, and that's all I do.
Steve, from one professional to another, I say, well done, sir. Good luck. And may God guide you and give you wings on this journey. And if something shall happen to you and befall you, my friend, I am your assistant. I will be happy to step up and help you. Steve, did you know, this is unbelievable, my roommate and the other roommate married the three women next to us. What do you think of that, Steve? Is that incredible?
That's actually very interesting.
Isn't that an amazing piece of information? There was an apartment, and they were in the apartment next to us. Did you know that?
My advice, Steve, tell little anecdotes like that. Kirk really seemed to enjoy it.
Steve, here's a little... Steve, here's a little piece of radio. If I may, just two pros bullshitting here for a second. If I may, if Kirk asks you a question, just start saying things that make no sense in order and ramble on and on and on and on and on and on. And then maybe he'll interrupt you. It's really good radio, I find. And Steve, if Kirk happens to turn on you, there's always a world of real estate where one can produce shows where people are selling homes. I'd be happy to have you part of that. And I happen to be a real estate expert myself. You can ask me anything.
Steve, my 2 cents, this is just me. Add clips in after the show. It'll do you a world of favors.
Steve.
We're still going.
Steve, I have a little motto. It's not a big deal, but I think sometimes you try hard, but I think sometimes you try, say 94%, or even 96%. Take a look at this T-shirt, Steve. 100%. That's how you do it all the time. That's the Dave Cullinane way. Why do I talk like Alec Baldwin? I don't know. But I go 100%, Steve, all the time. All the time.
It's in my new book, Producing Greatness. 10 steps to appeasing Kirk Minihane.
Here's the other thing, Steve. Just a quick piece of advice. And again, I hate to step on your toes. You're the lead producer of the show, but if somebody with 9 followers tweets at you, I think personally it's important to go on a 40-thread conversation with this person. Because one thing they'll really do is they'll get Kirk to throw his phone across the room and punch the wall.
Steve, you want to leave people following you saying, "Oh, another notification from Steve Robinson." Terrific. Can't wait to see the insight the little nugget of truth that he has brought to us today.
Steve, I think a producer's job, first and foremost, is not to produce the show, but to make sure you go on the Minifan thread on Twitter and apologize for things. That, to me, is top priority. Before you do anything else, to make sure that
forgiveness.
Make sure that Chris from Wakefield is not mad at you. Don't worry about trying to book a guest or make sure the show sounds good, but make sure the DEC and Chris from Wakefield are not angry at you. And Steve from Providence, Steve. And once you do that, then the show is fine. It writes itself.
Throw Mike under the bus. They seem to like that.
Steve, why has Mikey Fowler not gotten back to you? I don't understand this. What's going on?
Steve, if the podcast is not up at 11, you text Mikey Fowler at 11:01, and you say, "Dead air. Where is it?"
Steve, bring as many interns as you can and interview them for no reason at all whatsoever, because they'll never work here. What you do, though, is make sure when you interview them, make sure a couple of things are true before you hire them. One, they have a full-time job, and 2, they live in Springfield. Make sure both those things are on board before you make the hire.
When picking the intern, find where they live and choose the furthest distance.
Steve, I have an intern here circled. I don't know. Again, you can interview him. He looks like it works for me. He's a lawyer in Omaha. He works 5 days a week in Omaha, Nebraska. I think he's probably a good guy for the job. I'm sure he'd be willing to come in here all the time. I think he's the guy to go with.
So you gonna miss it?
Oh, I won. Good. Okay, good. I wasn't going to stop.
I was gonna say. Wow.
Steve.
No.
But Cullinane is not, I don't think, because this was sort of the thing, he's not, I don't think, stabbing Steve in the back, I don't think.
Steve, I'm back.
Steve, hello, it's me, Dave, again.
It really gets Mike in the zone if you chat with him before the show. I think letting him sit there in silence is not. It doesn't get him prepared enough. We need to talk radio with him for 30 minutes.
Steve, let me give you a little example just of Mike and I bullshitting before a show one day. The temperatures were to hit that day, I was told, almost 94 degrees. And I said to Mike, I said, boy, it's going to be warm today. And he said, yes. That's sort of the kind of thing that then he's on a roll and you just get out of the fucking way.
And
That's
sometimes Mike says yes and he doesn't give you a lot. And what you respond with is, warm yesterday too. And then that may start a dialogue. And then you're rolling.
Steve, you know what Kirk really likes? Like, I was surprised. You learn things about people. He's very into the fact that a man can control lights with a telephone. Who would have guessed? So I would continue that sort of banter, maybe have the man on once in a while.
Now, Steve, you might say it's 2019, and sure, people would understand that, but Kirk's an old school guy. If you mention little things like that.
He didn't know that. And it turns out, Steve, by the way, let him know. You can actually get the temperature on the phone as well. There's all these things out there. You can tell movie times on it. It's incredible. But again, I turn the throne over to you. And I say and bid a fond farewell. Au revoir, as they say in my homeland of France. What a run it's been, Steve. I'm happy that you've traversed the country and the world and you're back now. And you look well and fed and handsome as always. And I turn aside now and go back to the world of real estate and wait to sire my next boy. But I'll be thinking of you always, particularly when the sun rises and sets, and the show that we did for 3 weeks and the time we spent together.
Good night, and good luck. Is that pretty much how it's going to go?
The worst part of what just happened is that went on for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And there's no way to not make the title of the episode about me as I'm writing the
I have
title
no problem
of
with
the
that.
episode.
That's fine,
No,
Steve.
I hate
Dave
that.
Cullinane.
Dave Cullinane's last day?
Steve, I hate doing that. You always let the stars be the stars, Dan.
There you go.
Let Kirk Minihane be Kirk Minihane.
But sometimes it's just you rise above your role, Steve, and it's not your fault. It just happens.
Steve,
when
I'll tell you-
bring the level of influence that we do.
Steve, I'll tell you the date right now. I still think of it all the time. April 14th, 2012. That day, I was at 99%. I don't want to talk about it. Steve, one other piece of advice. There's a man called Thrill Ride. He went from average to absolute savage overnight. You have to get
that's
this.
a lesson you can take into this job.
You have to get this man in your life. Kirk is resisting, but I know down deep he knows his magic there. Put the man on the show.
Put pen to paper and make it happen, Steve. For the love of God, please.
Steve, I've developed a British accent that I've gotten over these 3 weeks. I'm not sure why.
It's what happens when you throw yourself into the work.
Steve, I can only imagine when you were at Cannes, looking out at the ocean, you must have got enthralled in my back and forth on Twitter with Kirk Mindrops. It was an incredible duel between two men. Kirk Mindrops was saying, Dave, that said one of the microphones had a tinny today. And I said, no, my good man. That must be your side, your phone. You must have a...
Obviously, you're lying.
You must have
no reason.
You must have an OX13 Plus. Why don't you move three GDs over there to the right, my good man? And he agreed. I won the war. I won the duel. At long last, I won. And I brought it up the next day, and Kirk ignored me. But I think he liked it.
Steve, I know you've been touring the Italian countryside for three weeks, but I assure you, it is nothing compared to the magistry that happens in that room from 7 to 9 a.m.
Steve, let me read you some of my tweets.
Not a lot going on today, huh?
Better than anything else we're going to do. Let me see some of these. Steve, Steve, here I am going back and forth with Steve from Providence. Steve from Providence said, hopefully at Dave Cullinane can figure out a way to swindle advertising money from Mercedes-Benz in order to remain on Kirk Minihane Show. And I said to him, I took the bullet, Steve. Lesson learned. Bad pitch. It really wasn't meant to sound shady or take away from shitting on Mike.
June 25th, 2009.
Wasn't that important that I wrote that down and sent it out to the world? How different the world would be if those words weren't out there. Can you imagine?
Steve, what you have to ask yourself is, what will Steve from Providence think if I don't get back to him? He is left there, hanging in the breeze. It is my duty to make sure this man's questions are answered.
Things always pick up when Dan Corrado tweets at me. I don't know if you know that or not. 13 hours ago, he said, at Dave Cullinane, I think you've been very good on the show, man. Hope we can make the ad game work and stay a part of things. And I said, appreciate that. Thanks for bearing with me in all my responses. See, I'm being self-deprecating. That's important, too.
Steve, sometimes they'll do a bit where they give you a British accent for no reason, and it's important to get out of the way. You merely hang back and let the magic happen in front of you.
Steve, why do we shoot our heroes? Why? Why do we? Why? Steve, one final piece of advice, and I'm almost embarrassed telling you this, my good man. But if the most litigious man in America is going to be on your podcast, don't lie to him about what it's going to be about. Don't send a ridiculous email address. I've learned that.
Pearls of Wisdom with Dave Cullinane.
Steve, also off the record, the blind Mike sexual harassment thing is very real. He loves that. It got uncomfortable at times.
On air, he will joke about it, but don't bring it up to him off air. He gets very snippy about it.
Steve, what's going on? This is me, Dave. How you doing? Yeah, how was that piece over there? Pretty good, Marone. Huh? You got a Kumar over there or what?
Is this still Dave?
Yes, how you doing? It's me, Dave. Oh, how you doing? Yeah, hey, you gotta be very careful with Kirk. He got a big ego, you know. I gotta love him. I gotta pinch those cheeks and sometimes say, "You my big boy. You my bueno mijito." You know what I mean?
I don't even know what this is.
Make him a pizzeli. You know what I'm saying? That's Italian Dave talking to Steve who's been to Italy.
So he's trying to relate to him.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
I got it.
You can't do that. You're Italian.
Mano.
There you go. All right, I think we've taken the ship as far as I can go.
Thank God.
Steve,
I didn't have any Italian.
Steve, one last thing.
Oh, God. Good time for Roman, though.
So, GetRoman.com/Kirk.
There you go. GetRoman.com/Kirk. GetYourMan.com/Kirk. Again, you want to have a good time and laugh and support the show? That's how you do it. Steve, I've got to tell you about these reads. What Kirk does now is he sort of makes it more conversational. You know, he doesn't want to follow the script, so just let him go. He's a rare bird, Steve. Let him fly away into the sky.
You don't need to print them. You were printing them out. The man doesn't need. This is a paperless world we live in, Steve.
Steve, we don't.
Let the words flow through.
But I want to.
It's amazing. In 3 weeks, Dave gave us all those references. All those.
How'd that
great...
start? I asked him if he's gonna text. If he's gonna
Have you
text.
texted Steve?
Yeah. Have you texted Steve?
I have not texted Steve.
How would that go if you did?
Will you include?
How would that work?
Well.
I have a buddy of mine, Jim, out in California, great friend of mine, and we always talk like that. I always think of it as the Alec Baldwin voice, like the serious, like the Alec Baldwin voice. You know, it's just funny to me for some reason. Like, Steve. I don't know. Do either one of you guys, before we get to the other stuff, are you gonna have any interest in seeing Tarantino?
I'm seeing it on Sunday.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
Ooh. Okay, good.
My epic return to the theaters.
Where are you seeing it?
I don't know. My buddy bought somewhere around me. My buddy bought the tickets already, and we're going somewhere. Watertown
King Pete?
area. No. Another friend.
Okay. Wow, look at you with friends.
At least 2 confirmed.
Dave has no interest in seeing it.
I have interest in seeing it. I just don't go to the movies anymore.
Okay.
All right.
How many Tarantino movies have you seen?
Not too many.
I tweeted this out last night just because I like to do it once in a while.
Yeah.
Because I knew I wouldn't be able to do this on the show, obviously. So I was
I've
like,
seen most.
flex his
I'm a
muscle.
Reservoir Dogs guy.
It's a great movie. I mean,
I prefer Pulp Fiction.
I think
but
it's
yeah.
his best movie.
I like Pulp Fiction makes me laugh more, but yeah, Reservoir Dogs is
It's just tighter.
Yeah.
I love Pulp. I saw Pulp Fiction in New York. It was like I've never seen a theater fucking laugh like that. You know,
Really?
I'm not sure it's if you watch it now.
I had that with Wedding Crashers. I went to a sneak peek,
Yeah,
full theater,
and the place
laughter
was crazy.
great. It
right?
was
Yeah,
great. That's a
yeah.
good experience.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that Some About Mary holds up that well now. It's funny still, but
I think it holds up. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
tough because they make fun of certain things you're not allowed to make fun
yeah,
of
but
anymore.
I mean, I don't care about that when
Yeah,
I'm
right.
watching it. But I don't. Yeah, it's still. I don't know. Is that their best movie or is it Dumb and Dumber?
Fairly Brothers. Most people
Dumb
would
and
say
Dumber.
I like Something About Mary more, but
Yeah.
most people would say Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber.
Really?
Definitely.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Yeah.
Though I loved Outside Providence.
But that's not really it's not really a comedy. I mean, it is, but it's not
yeah,
really.
okay.
I mean, you know,
Yep.
so it's not really a Fairley Brothers movie either. I think it's just one of them, I believe.
Oh wow, I
believe
didn't know
it.
they were
Okay.
split up.
Actually, I don't think they directed it. I think they wrote it. I think it comes from
okay.
one of their books.
All right.
Anyway,
All right.
long way of getting as always, Dave. Gets right in the way. Steve, when the boys are getting into a spirited movie debate, fuck it up.
Step all over.
Yeah, fuck it up with something that makes no sense. Try and prove yourself, but yet prove nothing. Let's just, how much? We get another hour. Of this. I can go. I mean, I'll do this all day. I'll do this all day.
All right.
What's your favorite movie, Dave?
My favorite movie of all time?
Yes, that's right.
Ooh, tough one.
Another thing, Steve, is
Gladiator.
Steve,
Repeat the question.
Wayne's World.
Real quick, Steve. Repeat the question to buy yourself some time.
It seamlessly buys you time without no one notices that that's what you're doing.
I call it a tired but true move. It never fails. You think I care what the answer is, Dave?
No.
Okay, I don't. Gladiator.
Get back to me in 20 minutes. Let me think about
it.
it.
Gladiator. That's my favorite film. Russell Crowe. He comes all the way back, and boy, that Joaquin Phoenix is a devil, isn't he? Why is he like that? Oh, because his old man didn't love him.
Did you see him on Letterman, Steve?
Was he playing a character or not?
Who
Steve?
knows?
I don't know the answer to that. Steve, can we watch Outside Providence together this weekend and talk about it? And then maybe we'll screen Gladiator together.
Steve and Dave get together every weekend to compare notes.
Steve, I'd love to meet your brother. He seems like a fine man. Thank him. Do me a favor, Steve. Thank him for his service, would you please?
Dear Ben Rollins.
Ben, the South is turned away. I think we are going to win this war.
Ben, I have endeared myself to the parody accounts, and I think it's safe for you to enter the Minihane world again.
I believe we've turned DEC.
Through my nurturing.
And the parody accounts have begun to retreat. It is colder now, but still I believe warm is on its way. Chris from Wakefield and Ned the Snark they have not yet turned, but I believe they will in time, my good man. In time they'll turn.
You have to coddle that relationship.
Ben, you're a war hero and a great man, but yet the parody accounts remain your toughest foe.
I have done a great deal to silence them, but the war is not over, my friend.
Ben, random question. Have you seen Outside Providence? It's a funny film. George Wendt is in it. Alec Baldwin. It's a story of a young man's battles in the city of Providence. It's not directed by the Farrelly brothers, but yet it still has their flavor and feel to it.
One of the many things I've learned working with the great Kirk Minihane.
Steve, Ben, his name was Maximus Aurelius. Father to a dead son. Husband to a murdered wife.
Has anyone listened to all of this without fast forward?
I don't give a shit. Who cares? It makes me laugh. Anyway, what were we doing?
Reservoir Dogs.
Oh, anyway, yeah. So the reviews are great, but I'm not sure I trust.
I'm a big Leo guy too. Like Tarantino and Leo, I feel like
True.
can't miss.
I read a story this week that was interesting about DiCaprio, who I think is the biggest star in the world. Would you say he's the biggest star in the world, Dave?
I'd say so, yes.
Good, thank you.
Yep.
Steve, I believe the biggest film actor in the world is Leonardo DiCaprio. Would you agree with that? That's my take. Who do you say?
Steve, have an opinion when he goes to. Make sure you're.
Steve, when he asks you a question.
firm. Yes, Leo.
Just say yes. I find that's best. Even then, he'll make fun of you. You can't win. You cannot win.
But there's got to be a musician that's a big.
Steve, it's 100 degrees inside. Make sure to wear a long sleeve shirt. Wear a long sleeve shirt and long pants. It makes no sense, but do it. It's professional. DiCaprio, I read a story this week. He's never been, think about this. He's the biggest movie star in the world. Mm-hmm. He's never been in a family movie. He's never been in a
Comedy?
comic book movie, comedy. And he's never been in a sequel. like his career is so interesting to me because he hasn't worked in 4 years basically in his prime. Every movie, even if the movie's not good, you say, well, okay, like I understand why he did it. He took a chance.
It would have the ability to be critically acclaimed.
It's a really good director, or it's even
like Gatsby wasn't that
but
good,
it's
but
Baz
a lot of people
Luhrmann,
thought it
and
could
it's
be.
interesting. Even like Inception, mixed, but it's Chris Nolan. It's kind of interesting.
A lot of people
like,
loved it. It was for the time. It was like a big.
He never does anything that you're like, oh, that's a fucking money grab. Like you know, he's contemporary. Like he would never do Daddy's Home 2 or something,
Right?
Or even like he doesn't do comedies really, but yet he does. Like Django Unchained is sort of a comedy.
Yeah, and The Departed has its funny moments.
I think about like he's the biggest star in the world. He has been probably for 8 or 9 years, I'd say 7 or 8 years.
At least, yeah.
Post Titanic, he kind of took a break and then came back. Like, can you imagine Cruise at his peak, or Harrison Ford when he was the biggest star, or Will Smith? Well, Will Smith wouldn't work in this role, but somebody else playing the role he played in Django Unchained.
I know.
Like, it's fucking crazy. It's a crazy role, and he's unbelievable in it.
Yeah.
Wolf of Wall Street, unbelievable.
The Wolf of Wall Street's one of my favorite movies. Like that.
It could too long though. It's so the fucking like the scene when they're on drugs.
That's a lot of Scorsese movies where they're
true, but this is like way. I love it. The first hour is fucking wild.
Yeah.
But like it gets way out of control.
It's a little much. Yeah. You
what's
learn
funny
a
is
little too much about Jordan Belfort.
You know what's funny is I didn't even think until now that he and Margot Robbie were in that movie together, and they're in this together too. Not that matters, but you know. So there you go. And I can't, you know, it's not often I'm dying to see a movie, so hopefully it's
And then Brad Pitt has another movie coming out, right? That looks good.
yeah, Ad Astartes or something.
Yeah.
It's set in space.
Interesting.
The outer space, Steve. A world, Steve, at night when you look up at the sky, Steve, do you ever think about what's going on out there? I often do. And I'll turn to Holly and say something, and then she doesn't understand what I'm saying. And then I say to her, Holly, let's think about this for a moment. Like, you and Jessica and Jennifer, we're all living together, and me and Rob and Nick, we were all together, and all three of us are now married to each other. What a world this is!
Steve, let's stay on that theme for a moment of space. Because I think when you walk into the Red 13 studios, it's a universe out there that hasn't been explored yet. And it's your duty to find every little nook and cranny of that world and bring it to Kirk Minihane.
Steve, what's that? Steve? No, Steve, all due respect, I'm going to send that to my lawyer. I do not answer questions about whether I'm getting a kickback from Red 13. That's none of your business.
Steve, don't worry about
Steve, frankly, I don't mean to get upset, but I'm offended that you would even question my honor, my good man.
Steve, I've been very open with you in this conversation, but that is one area I don't care to speak about.
I wish to assert my amendment rights and not answer that question, if that's okay. That the founding fathers, my good men, put together, Steve.
I wish to invoke my Fifth Amendment privilege.
Yes, yes, I would. Okay, what's the big deal with that? Do an Asian one, would you please? Actually, do not.
That seems... I'll do it if I have to.
So we talked about yesterday. God, it's just I have to move on. I have Linda Marks and I have Dave as serious Dave talking to Steve and like. But I just picture Steve now, like with his glasses on, like taking notes and these things. Like,
Yes, all right.
Why do you park on the driveway and drive on the parkway, Steve? What is up with that?
Ooh, speaking of that,
The world is pretty small, but not if you have to paint it, Steve.
request denied for Jerry Seinfeld yesterday.
Denied.
Denied.
That's a quick denial, isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
Thanks, but
I
no
got to the right person too.
Steve, always update guest stuff like that. that really has no impact on the show for that particular day.
They may have already assumed Jerry Seinfeld wasn't coming on, but it's important that they know for sure.
Steve, I think Kirk's a dreamer. I'm sure he thought Jerry Seinfeld was going to come into Red 13 Studios and sit down on that couch with that shaggy blanket and put them on and just talk for 3 hours. And then maybe have lunch with them. And maybe just
In a
join
car and get coffee.
join the show full time. And say, maybe I'll give you 10% of the cut of Seinfeld. But no, you have to let him down gently, Steve. He's a wounded puppy underneath it all. You have to say right away, like, listen, Kirk, here it is. Jerry Seinfeld's not coming on, and I have some other bad news for you. When you get home, Bruce Springsteen will not be doing a live show in your kitchen today. I'm sorry.
Steve, it is your job to chisel through that rough exterior and get to the man within.
Kirk, you're not playing in the Masters next year, okay? I'm sorry to be the one that has to tell you this. But nobody else has the balls to do it, my good man. So if you want to fire me, fine, but understand that I'm a man who demands respect.
But I'll be damned if I don't do my duty.
So you're saying Seinfeld's out?
He's out.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank
Can we get Jason Alexander?
He'd probably do it. Is Jason Alexander at the level of fame? He's one of those guys who is got to be richer than you think.
Oh, yeah. I would assume
Now, he has I don't think he has a taste in the syndication.
No?
I don't know that.
I think in that time, if you were on the show,
That's
think you
true.
did, yeah.
So I mean, think about that, right? If he has 1/10 of 1% of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's all that matters, right? Now,
Right.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I don't know if you know this or not,
Billionaire.
grew up insanely rich.
Right.
Like she was a billionaire as a kid.
Yeah.
So it's kind of impressive that she keeps working.
Would you say she's the most successful television actress of all time?
Steve, throw a question out there that gets a conversation going.
Like, Steve, even if it appears they were heading in that direction anyways.
Steve, the important thing is to have no instinct for a conversation. Step all over it.
Sure, you may not have an opinion, throw a question out there, and then it seems like you've contributed to the conversation.
I'll give you an example. Perhaps you weren't listening. Perhaps you were traversing across the continent. You're coming back to our fine land. They were talking about Seinfeld, and I said, do you think Julia Louis-Dreyfus is the best actress out there? They talked about it for days.
They're still talking about it.
The whole country's talking about it.
It was a piece of information that had never been brought up before. A question that had never been posed to general society.
I've got another one for you. Just like, Mount Rushmore, for example, is a place with 4 men. Throw certain Mount Rushmore in different situations like that.
For example, your Mount Rushmore of sports. Who would it be?
Who are the Mount Rushmore of television comedic actresses? I threw out Lucille Ball, Julie Louis-Dreyfus, and the other boys just started talking. It was great. Mike said Kate McKinnon. I was aghast.
He's a millennial. He doesn't understand.
And of course, Kirk, but with an older name. That's sort of the dynamics. You know what you do, Steve? You step back. You get out of the way.
Steve, you play with their dynamic. Kirk is older. Mike is younger. You can play with that. There's room to grow there.
Steve, you have to think of yourself as a puppet. Again, I don't mean to step on you. As a puppet master. I'm playing these fools.
You're pulling the marionette strings and making them dance for you, Steve. But my God, do it with grace.
Biggest sports upsets. I said the 1980 Olympic game in hockey. And Kirk said that was my idea. We argued for hours about it. It was great. I had a brandy and we talked all night.
Steve, you don't have to throw out the most interesting idea. Just something to get the conversation moving.
Quite the opposite, my good man. Be as boring as possible. Kirk was saying Jason Alexander's Sneaky Rich, which is an interesting 90-second diversion, but I decided to step all over it.
All right, most successful actress, go. Let's get this over with. Steer this ship,
Most
pal.
successful actress. Anyway, so, Steve. So,
I'd go with Carol Burnett, by the way.
Oh, that's a good one. That is a good one. There you go. That should have been mine, though. See, that's wrong. But once in a while, they'll surprise you. Kirk went with a millennial, and Kirk said Mindy Kaling. I couldn't believe it.
Who would have thought? And that's the type of surprise you get on the Kirk Minihane program.
The show's been hijacked by my idiocy.
No, Kirk. I mean, now, Steve. Sometimes two mentally ill men will get on a rant that they can't get out of. They get stuck in character. You let them play with that.
Privately, I think it's sad that Blind Mike went into that message board, but I won't say that, Steve. I support him.
The man is clearly on the brink of insanity.
He's talking about suicide. Kirk has mental illness. He's ignoring him. He couldn't care less. How cavalier.
The man is crying for help, but you let him go with that. You see where the genius of Kirk brings you on this journey.
Kirk sprints to his car at the end of the day. The car's actually moving. He jumps into it.
And Steve, if God forbid he does do something, that's content, my friend.
You've got a week out of that. The best part is when Kirk drives away, I can hear the car go by. It's one more car. The best noise in the world is the sound of a car going by.
By the way, I think that's how this started. I think we've officially come full circle.